Ambassador Alan Carter adjusted his uniform as he walked toward the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council. 3 months had passed since his first announcement. This time, the mood was different. Catherine Walsh walked beside him, her tablet displaying the latest updates. 37 species have formally joined our coalition, she said. The Pelorans committed their entire fleet yesterday. Alan nodded. And the Volucrians? Elder Vintar spoke to the conclave. They won't commit military forces, but they've provided ancient tactical data on previous Harvester wars. Their historians will serve as advisors. Alan smiled slightly. Your meeting with Vintar worked better than I expected. He remembered the last Harvester war, Catherine said. 12,000 years is a long time for us, but not for them. When I showed him our evidence, he recognized the patterns immediately. They reached the chamber doors. Unlike his first appearance, Alan wasn't dreading this meeting. Humanity had proven its predictions correct. The Harvester attacks had increased, just as they'd warned. Now, many council species were ready to listen. Inside, the chamber was packed. Representatives from all 247 species were present. Alan walked to the central podium with confidence. Distinguished representatives, he began. 3 months ago, I announced Earth's declaration of war against the Harvester swarm. Today, I return not to announce, but to coordinate. He activated the central display, showing a tactical map of the galaxy. Red markers indicated Harvester activity, spreading inward from the outer rim. Blue markers showed coalition forces engaging them across multiple fronts. Admiral Collins' fleet has destroyed a major Harvester staging area in the Vega sector. Combined Peloran and Earth forces have established a defensive line along the Perseus Arm. The Morigi Trade Federation has committed their resources to supply our frontline worlds. Alan looked around the chamber. Many representatives were nodding in approval. Others remained skeptical. Together, 37 worlds have joined this coalition. We stand united against a threat that concerns us all. He displayed new data from Dr. Nguyen's research team, carefully edited to protect the details of the quantum weapon. Our scientists have discovered the biological mechanism that allows Harvesters to coordinate their attacks. We are developing countermeasures. The moderator, who had opposed Alan's unilateral action months ago, now spoke in a more respectful tone. The Council acknowledges Earth's foresight in this matter. Your coalition has shown remarkable effectiveness against the Harvester advance. Alan was about to respond when a commotion erupted at the far entrance to the chamber. Guards moved quickly as a strange figure entered. It was a Harvester. Unlike the specimens they had captured, this one stood upright on 2 of its 6 limbs. Its shell had been modified with communication devices. The chamber fell silent as the creature approached the central area. This is unprecedented, the moderator said, voice shaking. The Harvesters have never attempted diplomatic contact before. Alan tensed, hand moving to the small weapon hidden in his jacket. Catherine subtly positioned herself between the Harvester and Alan. The creature made clicking sounds that the chamber's translation system converted to words. The collective addresses the gathered food sources, it began. Several representatives gasped at the blunt designation. Your resistance is noted. Inefficient, wasteful of resources. A Harvester extended 2 limbs in what might have been a gesture of offering. The collective proposes arrangement. Designate agricultural worlds for harvest. Remaining territories temporarily excluded from collection. Efficient. Beneficial. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some representatives looked thoughtful, considering the offer. Alan stepped forward. You're asking us to sacrifice entire worlds and their populations. Correct, the Harvester replied. Alternative is total consumption, inefficient for both. Before Alan could respond, Catherine handed him a data tablet. It showed intercepted Harvester communications, translated by their intelligence team. The offer was a deception. The main Harvester force was assembling beyond the outer rim, preparing for a massive invasion. Alan looked up at the waiting council. Some seemed ready to consider the Harvester's proposal. He knew what he had to do. "Allow me to respond to this generous offer," he said, voice firm and clear as he prepared to reveal the truth. Ambassador Alan Carter adjusted his formal blue uniform as he approached the enormous doors of the Grand Chamber. His heart beat faster, but his face remained calm. Today would change everything. The doors slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the Galactic Council's chamber stretched upward in a perfect dome. Light from 3 suns filtered through the transparent ceiling. Below sat representatives from 247 alien species, arranged in rising circular tiers. Alan took a deep breath. For months, the human delegation had been quiet. Earth had suffered from border attacks by the Craxian Empire, and everyone expected some kind of response. But no one expected what Alan was about to say. He walked with firm steps toward the central podium. Aliens of all shapes and sizes watched him. Some had multiple eyes, others had none. Some floated in special tanks. Others towered 3 times his height. All were powerful. All thought of humans as newcomers, barely worth notice in the grand scheme of galactic politics. That would change today. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council," Alan said, his voice clear and strong through the translation system. "I come before you with grave news. As of 800 hours Earth Standard Time, the United Earth Government has formally declared a state of war." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several Craxian representatives rose from their seats, their spiny crests flaring with anger. They had expected this. "Not against the Craxian Empire," Alan continued. The chamber fell silent. The Craxians slowly sat down, confusion evident in their 3-eyed faces. Earth has declared war against the Harvester Swarm. The silence broke into chaos. Some representatives shouted. Others clicked or whistled in their native tongues. A few immediately left their seats. The Harvesters were from the outer rim of the galaxy, far from the Council's central worlds. For centuries, the Council had simply ignored them, allowing the parasitic species to consume distant, less important planets. "Order, order in the chamber," called the moderator, a tall, thin being with silvery skin. When the noise finally settled, Alan activated the central display. Horrifying images appeared, planets stripped bare of life, colony worlds reduced to barren rock, billions dead. The most recent images were from just 3 months ago, showing a former human research outpost. "The Harvester Swarm has destroyed 17 inhabited worlds in the past Earth year," Alan said. "Their advance has accelerated. Our analysts project they will reach populated council space within 5 standard years." A Volucrian elder, one of the oldest beings in the galaxy, raised a gnarled appendage. "The outer territories have always faced such threats, human. This is not new." Alan nodded respectfully to the ancient being. "What is new, elder, is their speed and coordination. The Harvesters have evolved. They're no longer just consuming. They're conquering, planning, and they're moving inward." He switched the display to show military movements. "Earth has already mobilized its fleets. We've established forward bases in these sectors." Red dots appeared across the outer rim. "We did not come here to ask permission. We came to inform the Council that humanity will not wait for unanimous approval while more worlds die." The moderator's voice cut through the rising noise. "This is unprecedented. The Council must vote on any military action of this scale." Alan stood straight, his eyes moving across the gathered representatives. "With respect, we've reviewed the Charter. Article 7 permits immediate action in cases of existential threat. Earth has determined this qualifies. We invite all members of the Council to join us, but we will proceed regardless." The chamber erupted again. Some representatives applauded. Others protested loudly. Many simply watched in stunned silence. As Alan stepped away from the podium, he caught the eye of Catherine Walsh, Earth's senior diplomatic officer, who waited at the chamber's edge. She gave him a slight nod. Now her work would begin, turning this announcement into a true coalition. Humanity had taken its stand. The galaxy would never see them the same way again. Catherine Walsh worked her way through the crowded reception hall. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the space, their voices a mix of languages that her translator struggled to keep up with. 3 years of working in this environment had taught her to read body language that had nothing in common with human gestures. Senior Diplomatic Officer Walsh called a voice. Catherine turned to see Ambassador Zix of the Pellerin Alliance approaching. The ambassador's 4 arms moved in a formal greeting pattern. Ambassador Zix, Catherine replied with a perfect mirroring of the gesture. I'm glad you could attend. Your Ambassador Carter has created quite a stir, Zix said. His large eyes blinked slowly. Many believe humans are overstepping. Catherine smiled politely. And what do the Pellerins believe? We have colonies near the outer rim. We've seen what the harvesters can do. Zix lowered his voice. But our military is small. We cannot stand alone. You won't have to, Catherine said. That's why I wanted to speak with you privately. They moved to a quiet corner. For the next 20 minutes, Catherine outlined Earth's plan, offering Pellerin worlds protection in exchange for supply line access and intelligence support. It was a fair deal, and Zix knew it. I will speak to my government, Zix said finally. You may have our answer within 2 days. Catherine nodded. 1 potential ally down, 30 more to go. She spent the next 4 hours moving through the reception. With the Morigi trade representative, she negotiated access to rare metals needed for Earth's new weapons. With the Jork military attaché, she secured promises of joint training exercises. With each conversation, she built the foundation for a coalition. Not everyone was receptive. The Drath Envoy refused to even speak with her. The Altarian delegation listened politely, but offered nothing. The Craxians, still angry over border disputes with Earth, openly mocked the human warmongering. By midnight, Catherine was exhausted. She retreated to a small side room to review her notes. Ambassador Carter found her there. How bad is it? He asked, dropping into a chair across from her. Could be worse, Catherine said. The Pelorins are likely in. The Morigi too. That gives us access to the trade routes we need. Elen nodded. The council session tomorrow will be hostile. The elder houses are calling for sanctions against Earth for acting without approval. Catherine looked up from her notes. We need the Volucrians. Elen sighed. They haven't taken sides in any conflict for 12,000 years. What makes you think they'll help us now? Because they've seen this before, Catherine said. The harvesters aren't new. They've appeared and been defeated twice in galactic history. The Volucrians were there both times. How do you know that? Catherine pulled out a small data device. I spent 3 years studying ancient council records. Most representatives don't bother looking at history older than their own species' memory. But it's all there if you know where to look. She showed Alan images of ancient battles against swarm-like creatures. The similarity to modern harvester attacks was unmistakable. I have a meeting with Elder Vintar tomorrow, she said, the oldest living Volucrian. If I can convince him that history is repeating itself, he might persuade the Volucrian conclave to support us. Alan considered this. Even with the Volucrians, we'll still face opposition. We don't need everyone, Catherine said. We just need enough to sustain the war effort until the others see we were right. She gathered her notes. Humans are newcomers to galactic politics, Alan. They think we're naive, but that's our advantage. How so? We're the only ones who still believe in fighting for what's right, not just what's convenient. Catherine stood up. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we start turning this announcement into a real coalition. As Alan left, Catherine turned back to her notes. The fate of Earth, maybe the whole galaxy, would depend on the alliances she built in the coming days. Captain Jack Martinez crouched behind a fallen metal beam. The research station's emergency lights cast long shadows across the destroyed lab. 6 Marines from his first contact combat unit formed a protective circle around him. Their breathing was steady despite the danger. Status report, Jack whispered into his comm unit. "East wing clear, Captain," came the reply from Surgeon Liu. "No survivors found." "West wing has signs of combat," reported Corporal Dias. "Blood trails, both human and something else." Jack checked his rifle's power cell. "Stay sharp. We move to the central lab in 30 seconds. The station had gone dark 3 days ago. Located on the edge of known space, the research outpost had been monitoring harvester movements. Then, suddenly, all communication stopped. Jack's team was sent to find out why. Now they knew. The harvesters had come. Jack gave the hand signal, and his team moved forward in perfect formation. Years of training for alien combat had prepared them for this moment. They had fought other species before, but the harvesters were different. Unknown. The central lab doors were forced open. Inside, computers blinked with emergency power. Data screens showed partial information. And in the center of the room, a scene that made even Jack pause. 3 dead scientists lay on the floor. Above them stood a containment field, and within it, a harvester. The creature was unlike anything in Earth's xenobiology records. About the size of a large dog, it had 6 limbs ending in what looked like surgical tools. Its body was covered in a hard shell that shifted colors slightly as it moved. Most disturbing were its eyes. 5 of them, arranged in a circle, all focused directly on Jack. "Sir," whispered Private Rodriguez, "it's still alive." "I can see that," Jack replied. He approached the containment field cautiously. The scientists had managed to capture one before they died. The creature made a series of clicking sounds. To Jack's surprise, one of the nearby computers translated. "Release. Hungry." Jack stared at the creature. "You can communicate." More clicks. "Yes. Release." "You killed the humans here," Jack said. "Not killed. Harvested. Purpose." A chill ran down Jack's spine. He had expected mindless parasites, creatures acting on instinct. This was worse. The harvester was intelligent. "Why did you harvest them?" Jack asked. "Food. Breeding. Purpose." The creature's eyes spun slowly in their sockets. "All life is resource." "We are not resources," Jack said. "We are sentient beings." The harvester's shell changed color slightly. "Irrelevant. All non-harvester life is resource. Stars made flesh. We take back." Jack turned to his team. "Record everything. We need to get this intel back to command." Private Rodriguez approached a data terminal. "Captain, I found the scientists' research. They discovered something about the harvester's biology." Jack was about to respond when the station's alarms suddenly blared. Sergeant Liu's voice came through the comm unit, panic evident. "Captain, we've got multiple contacts approaching from the north airlock. Dozens of them." The harvester in the containment field began making rapid clicking sounds, almost like laughter. "More come," it said. "Always more. Cannot stop harvest." Jack made a quick decision. "Download all data. We leave in 2 minutes." He turned to the harvester. "You're coming with us. Earth needs to know what we're fighting." "Others will follow," the creature said. "Everywhere you go. Cannot escape." "We'll see about that," Jack replied. He nodded to Corporal Dias, who activated the mobile containment unit. As they moved the harvester, Jack heard the sounds of gunfire from the north corridor. His team would have to fight their way out. He had lost men before, but something told him this mission would cost more than most. The knowledge they gained, however, was critical. The harvesters weren't just aggressive aliens. They were intelligent predators who saw all other life as nothing but resources to consume. This wasn't a war that could end in peace talks or treaties. It was survival. Nothing less. Dr. Olivia Nguyen stared at the tissue sample under her microscope. The harvester cells pulsed with an unnatural rhythm, even outside the main body. She adjusted the settings to detect quantum fields and watched in amazement as patterns emerged. "Are you seeing this, Leo?" she asked her assistant. Dr. Leo Patel looked up from his computer screen. "The quantum entanglement is unlike anything in our database. These cells aren't just communicating. They're sharing consciousness. Olivia nodded. After Captain Martinez had returned with the captured harvester, her xenobiology team had been working nonstop. The creature had died 3 days after capture, but the samples they collected were proving invaluable. It's not just a hive mind, Olivia said. It's something more complex. Each harvester is both an individual and part of the whole. They share information instantly across vast distances. That explains their coordinated attacks, Leo said. They don't need to communicate. They already know what the others know. Olivia tapped her tablet, bringing up battle reports from the front lines. It also explains why they adapt so quickly to our weapons. Once one harvester sees a tactic, they all know it. She walked to the large display screen at the center of the lab. It showed the neural structure of the harvester. Glowing connections mapped the unusual quantum pathways that linked each cell. But this could be their weakness too, she said quietly. Leo looked up. How so? If we could disrupt this quantum connection, we might be able to break their coordination. They would still be dangerous, but they'd lose their greatest advantage. Is that even possible? Leo asked. Theoretically. Olivia pulled up a simulation. We'd need to create a field that interferes with their specific quantum frequency without harming other species. As she worked on the calculations, a message appeared on her screen. It was marked urgent, from Earth's Intelligence Division. Olivia opened it and read quickly, her expression darkening. What is it? Leo asked. Intelligence intercepted communications from the Altarian delegation to the Council, she said. Apparently, several Council species have known about the Harvester's quantum biology for centuries. What? Why wouldn't they share that information? Olivia's voice was bitter. According to this, they'd been using outer rim planets as a buffer zone. They knew the Harvesters would consume those worlds first, giving the central planets time to prepare if they ever came that far. Leo shook his head in disbelief. Those worlds had billions of inhabitants, and Earth was considered part of that buffer zone. Olivia closed the message. We were supposed to be sacrificed too. She returned to her work with renewed determination. For hours, she ran simulations on the quantum disruptor. Each failure brought new insights until finally, at 3:27 a.m., the simulation showed success. I've got it, she said. Leo, who had fallen asleep at his desk, jerked awake. The quantum disruption field. Olivia nodded. It works in the simulation. We'll need to test it, but I think we have our weapon. As Leo reviewed her work, a troubling thought occurred to Olivia. She ran an additional simulation, confirming her fears. There's a problem, she said. The technology could be modified to target any species with similar neural patterns, including several council races and humans. So it's not just a weapon against the Harvesters, Leo said slowly. It's potentially a weapon against any species. Olivia nodded. If this falls into the wrong hands, it could be used for genocide on an unprecedented scale. Do we tell Command? Olivia stared at the simulation results. Earth needed this weapon to survive, but creating it meant introducing a new terrible possibility to the galaxy. We tell them, she said finally, but we build in safeguards. Multiple fail-safes that only humans can activate. As they compiled their report, Olivia couldn't help but wonder, in fighting monsters, would humanity be forced to create something equally monstrous? Admiral Henry Collins stood on the bridge of the EA's determination. The massive view screen showed 3 human colony worlds, each surrounded by blinking red warning signals. Harvester swarms had appeared near all 3 simultaneously. Status report, Henry ordered, his voice calm despite the crisis. Commander Paddle responded quickly. New Washington Colony has activated its planetary shields. They can hold for 48 hours. Liberty Point has begun evacuation. Their shields are weaker. Maybe 24 hours. Coleman Colony. She paused. Coleman has minimal defenses. Population of 8,000. Mostly farmers and miners. Henry studied the tactical display. His fleet of 17 warships could not be in 3 places at once. Choices had to be made. Terrible choices. Send the Montgomery and the Yamato to Liberty Point to cover the evacuation, he said. The Determination and the main fleet will defend New Washington. It's our primary technology center in this sector. Commander Patel looked up. And Coleman Colony, sir. Henry's face remained expressionless, but his hands tightened on the railing. Send the Horizon. It's our fastest ship. Tell them to evacuate as many as possible before the harvesters arrive. One ship won't be enough to save everyone, Patel said quietly. I know, Henry replied. Make the call. As Patel relayed the orders, Henry moved to the tactical station. The harvesters had attacked 3 colonies at once. This wasn't random. They were testing Earth's response capabilities. They're learning, he said to himself. The next 12 hours were a blur of battle reports and decisions. At New Washington, the fleet engaged a harvester force 3 times their size. Henry used the colony's moon as cover, dividing the enemy forces and defeating them in smaller groups. Liberty Point's evacuation was proceeding, but slowly. The harvesters there were targeting the escape ships. The Montgomery had taken heavy damage protecting the civilians. Then came the news from Coleman Colony. The Horizon had arrived, but too late. The harvesters had already landed. Of 8,000 colonists, only 300 had been evacuated. The rest were gone. Henry received the report in his private quarters. He allowed himself 5 minutes of grief. Then he returned to the bridge with a new plan. Set course for the Vega sector, he ordered. Commander Patel looked surprised. Sir, that's beyond the front lines, deep in harvester space. Exactly. Henry brought up a star chart. Our defensive strategy isn't working. For every colony we save, we lose 2 more. It's time to take the fight to them. He highlighted a system on the edge of harvester territory. Intelligence reports indicate this is a major staging area. They gather here before attacks. Attacking there would leave our colonies exposed, Patel warned. Sometimes the best defense is a strong offense, Henry replied. The harvesters think we're predictable. They attack, we defend. They're learning our patterns. It's time we surprise them. He sent out orders to the fleet. The plan was risky. They would take most of their forces deep into enemy territory, leaving minimal defenses at home. If they succeeded, they could cripple the harvesters' ability to launch coordinated attacks. If they failed, the path to Earth would be open. 3 days later, the fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel on the edge of the Vega system. Immediately, they detected dozens of harvester ships. They're not in battle formation, reported Lieutenant Kim from sensors. They weren't expecting us. Henry allowed himself a small smile. Good. Launch all fighters. Target their command ships first. As the battle began, Henry knew they had surprised the enemy. But the harvesters adapted quickly. The advantage wouldn't last long. This would be the true test of humanity's military might against the full force of the harvester swarm. A test that would cost thousands of lives, win or lose. For the first time in his career, Admiral Henry Collins prayed. Samantha Rodriguez wiped sweat from her forehead as she crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnel. The massive orbital shipyards around Mars hummed with constant activity. As chief engineer, she rarely needed to do hands-on work anymore, but this was too important to delegate. Pass me the quantum calibrator, she said to her assistant, Frank, who crawled behind her. Frank handed her the tool. We've been at this for 14 hours straight, Chief. Maybe we should take a break. Samantha shook her head. Dr. Nguyen's team needs this prototype completed by tomorrow. No breaks. She carefully adjusted the device embedded in the wall of the tunnel. This was the 7th quantum relay they had installed today. Together, they would form a testing grid for Dr. Nguyen's harvester weapon. The engineering challenges were immense. Creating a field that disrupted quantum entanglement was theoretical science at best. Making it work in real-world conditions, across space, against moving targets, That was Samantha's problem to solve. When they finished the installation, Samantha and Frank returned to the main engineering bay. Dozens of engineers worked at various stations. Construction robots moved massive components into place for new warships. "Run a full simulation," Samantha ordered. Her team activated the quantum relay network. On the main screen, a 3D model showed the invisible field expanding through the test area. Numbers flashed as the computer calculated field strength and stability. "Field integrity at 82%, reported one engineer. "Better than yesterday, but still below minimum requirements." Samantha studied the data. "The relays in Section 4 are out of alignment. Recalibrate and run it again." As her team worked, Samantha's tablet beeped with a security alert. She opened it and frowned. "What is it?" Frank asked. "Security found something strange in the primary manufacturing center," she said. "I need to check it myself." She took a small security team to the manufacturing floor. This was where the actual components for Dr. Nguyen's weapon were being built. Access was strictly limited. The security chief pointed to a worker operating a precision fabricator. His ID checks out, but facial recognition flagged inconsistencies. Samantha approached the worker. "Mr. Chen, can I speak with you for a moment?" The man turned. For a split second, his eyes looked strange, multifaceted like an insect's. Then they were normal again. "Security, detain him," Samantha shouted. The man moved with inhuman speed. He knocked down 2 security officers and ran toward the exit. The remaining officers fired stun weapons. The man fell, but continued to twitch and move. When they reached him, his skin seemed to ripple and shift. Before their eyes, the human disguise began to fall away, revealing the hard shell of a harvester beneath. "How did it get past our scanners?" asked the security chief. Samantha stared in horror. "It didn't just infiltrate us. It was working on the quantum disruptor components." A quick check confirmed her fears. The harvester had subtly sabotaged key elements of the weapon design. If they had gone undetected, the weapon would have failed catastrophically when deployed. Back in her office, Samantha faced a difficult decision. The infiltration meant the harvesters knew exactly what they were building. Security protocols would need to be completely overhauled. The project might need to start from scratch. She thought for a moment, then called her deputy engineer. "Joe, I need you to continue work on the primary weapon project. Full security, but change nothing about the design." "Even with the sabotage?" Joe asked, confused. "Especially with the sabotage," Samantha said. "I want the harvesters to think their plan worked." After ending the call, she contacted her most trusted team members. They would meet in an unused storage area, away from official channels. There, Samantha laid out her real plan, a secret facility on Europa, Jupiter's moon. They would build the actual weapon there, while the Mars facility served as a decoy. "We'll need to develop new stealth technology to mask the quantum signatures," she told her team. "If the harvesters can detect quantum fields, they'll find us unless we can hide them." It would mean weeks of double shifts, working on the decoy project during the day, and the real one in secret. But it was humanity's best chance. As the meeting ended, Samantha looked at her tired team. "What we're building might save our species. Let's get to work." The combined fleet moved through space in perfect formation. Over 200 ships from 37 worlds, all following Admiral Henry Collins' battle plan. Operation Firebreak had begun. On the bridge of the EA's determination, Henry watched as the final ships took position. Captain Jack Martinez stood beside him, his combat unit ready for the ground assault. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Commander Patel said. Henry nodded. "Begin the jump sequence. Take us to the Harvester homeworld." The massive fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel. When they emerged, they faced the heart of Harvester territory, a solar system with 3 planets completely covered by Harvester structures. "Deploy the quantum disruptor," Henry ordered. From a special ship at the center of the formation, Engineer Samantha Rodriguez activated the device she had built in secret on Europa. The weapon powered up, generating an invisible field that spread outward. On the tactical display, the effects were immediate. Harvester ships began moving erratically. Their perfect coordination faltered as the quantum connections between them were disrupted. "It's working," Samantha reported from her ship. "Their neural network is breaking down." Henry didn't waste the advantage. All ships engage targets as planned. Ground forces prepare for deployment. The battle was fierce. Even with their coordination disrupted, the harvesters fought with desperate intensity. Ships exploded on both sides. The coalition forces pushed forward, yard by yard, toward the central planet. Dr. Olivia Nguyen monitored the quantum disruptor's effects from a science vessel. "The harvesters are adapting," she warned. "They're trying to shift their quantum frequency to avoid our disruption field." Samantha's voice came through the comm. "Adjusting parameters. We planned for this." The weapon's effectiveness restored. The coalition continued its advance. But the cost was high. Dozens of ships had been destroyed, thousands of lives lost. As they approached the central command planet, a massive harvester vessel rammed the EA's determination, causing critical damage. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 7, reported an officer. "Life support failing." Henry helped a wounded crew member to a chair. "Begin evacuation. All hands to escape pods." Commander Patel looked at him. "What about you, sir?" Henry glanced at the tactical display. They were so close to victory. "I'll make sure everyone gets off. Then ensure our primary target is hit." As the crew evacuated, Henry locked the ship's course toward the Harvester Command Center. The determination would become a missile. Meanwhile, Captain Martins led the ground assault on the surface. His combat team fought through waves of harvesters to reach the central control node, a massive structure that Dr. Nguyen believed coordinated the entire species. "We're at the entrance," Martins reported. "Heavy resistance." His team suffered severe losses pushing into the structure. Of 30 soldiers who landed, only 12 remained. They fought room by room until they reached the central chamber. Inside was a sight none had expected. A massive harvester, 10 times larger than any they had seen, connected to countless neural links, the queen or brain of the entire collective. "Target located," Martins reported. "Deploying the package." His team set up a miniature version of the quantum disruptor designed to work at the heart of the harvester network. Above the planet, the damage determination approached its target. Admiral Collins sat alone on the bridge, manually guiding the dying ship. "Course locked," he said into the comm. "It's been an honor serving with you all." The starship crashed into the massive harvester structure just as Martinez activated the ground-based disruptor. The combined effect was immediate. Across the system, harvester ships went completely still. The neural network that united them had been severed at its source. 3 days later, the coalition forces had secured the system. The harvester threat was not completely eliminated, but their central coordination was destroyed. Without it, they were just individual creatures, dangerous but manageable. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Alan Carter and diplomat Catherine Walsh stood before the assembled representatives. A memorial service honored the fallen. Admiral Collins, half of Martinez's team, and thousands of others from all coalition species. "Today we remember those who gave everything to ensure our future," Alan said. "Human, Pellerin, Morigi, and many others fought as one. Their sacrifice has transformed our galaxy." Catherine stepped forward. "The threat reminded us that our differences are small compared to our shared right to exist. In Admiral Collins' memory, we propose a new council protocol for identifying and addressing existential threats. Never again will we ignore a danger simply because it seems distant." As the council voted unanimously to approve the measure, Alan looked out at the chamber that had once dismissed humanity as naive newcomers. Now they stood as equals, perhaps even leaders, in a more united galaxy. The war was over. Reconstruction would begin, and humanity had found its place among the stars.